everyone, it's Mandy here, and I have got Sally and Sharon. Hi.
Hi there.
Hi.
And Sharon, I've got one of your best friends in the whole world here for you to for you to introduce us to, because I just know how much you love this energy. So please introduce us to. Take it away, Sharon.
Actually, actually had an epiphany about him Wednesday night. I was looking at him and I was like, I still don't like you.
Who can it be? Who can it possibly be?
The Hierophant. I just, the reason I joined this school was because every time I tried to read, if he showed up, it was like a brick wall. He just shut down my intuition like bam, because I let him. It wasn't his fault. He's just a card.
hmm
So I was like, man, I need to learn more about the tarot because I don't this card just throws me for a loop. I hate him. Turns out I just, I'm a nonconformist, so of course I can't stand him. but but Wednesday night I was looking at him and thinking I still don't like you. And then I realized without him I would have never gotten in this school and I'd have never met y'all.
Oh,
So I kind of love him now. I just we agree to disagree.
and what was it about him? Back in the days when you didn't like him,
I
before I
just
realised about the change of heart. What was it that you hated so much about him?
I think it was the not so much the religious aspect cuz I got no problem with religions. I respect them. But it was that authoritative, you will believe this, you will conform. And I promise, I have tried most of my life to be normal, but I never got away with it. Nobody ever believed it. It's, you know, and I would be caught out within 5 minutes. It's obvious. So I felt like I was always struggling to please his conformity, his be this, and I was always failing. Does that make sense?
hmm
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And he's so much more than that. But that's where he and I were trapped. We were trapped on that. You must behave. And I am not an Aquarius. But I never felt like could behave the way he chose for me. He can be organized religion. The way that I originally learned him, my keywords back then, the traditional meanings. And I want to point out that I do believe everybody's traditional meanings are just slightly different or sometimes even vastly different. All of us have different traditional meanings.
hmm
But mine were religion, conformity, and I can't remember what the others were, but it was all you will do as I say, just forced down your throat.
Mm,
And I've learned since then, since in the school, that he can also be a very positive teaching tool.
hmm
He could be the school, the Hustle White. He could be a guidance counselor, a spiritual counselor. He's there to guide and lead, not force stuff down our throat.
hmm
So I'm getting to where I can handle him.
hmm
I, I'm so used to saying I hate that card though. You'll hear it for the rest of my life. What about y'all? Have you?
yeah, Sally. Yeah, Sally. What do you think? I mean, if he came up in a reading for you in a very positive position, that you had to get the best out of him, what way would you go with it?
Oh, if I wanted to get the best out of him, like Sharon said, I could see him as a teacher, an advisor, dispensing good advice, just, really guided by a higher voice, but, higher voice on this earth. I look at if I compare these things, you look at the high priestess, and that's more instinctive, instinct than intellectualism. And I find that the Hierophant is more intellectual. So you'd have like Eastern medicine versus Western medicine, things like that. I feel like the Hierophant is more Western in its thought.
Yeah.
It's very structured. Everything can be explained.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so that's how I see him in the best light. I too have problems with him sometimes, like Sharon does. And hey, I own up to the Aquarius of my nature. Um,
When you said everything can be explained, the way you said it, I was like, that's one of the things she don't like.
yeah, yes, that's very true.
I see him as quite like traditional and conventional and a little bit like unpredictable. It's kind of like you get what's on the packet. It's all been pre-written. So I don't see there's any you're not going to get any kind of unexpected surprises with him.
No,
If
nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
Sorry, I had to say that. Go ahead.
I mean, I do think in certain readings, somebody just wants everything. Some people do like things to just be as expected and as has been written down by our parents and their parents, and that traditionalism thing.
Mm-hmm.
I also see this card as being quite bureaucratic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's kind of my negative interpretation of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, one of my reversed meanings is he's come up as red tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And for me, this is kind of a Virgo card, paying attention to the details, and there's a place for everything and everything in its place. And along that line, when I look at it as a Virgo card, and this struck me the first time I saw this image, and I just can't get it out of my head anymore. You look at those two columns, and like the filigree, the decorations on the top, to me look like two uteruses and fallopian tubes.
Yeah.
And so when I look at this, I feel like some guy is trying to tell me what to do with my uterus and fallopian tubes.
Oh.
So I see it as preachy.
Oh, so you were with me on the Hierophant
Yeah.
team or
Yeah.
not team.
Do you see this card as being a bit misogynistic?
Yes. I think I made that really kind of clear. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
I get huge. I have a huge reaction to this card.
Yeah.
It's hard not to, especially
Sorry, yeah. Go on.
no, especially when we are not like everybody else. You know what I mean? We are not. We're not. I don't.
Conformist.
Yeah, I was gonna say sheep, but it's like I don't want to call other people sheep, but they just do what they told, and here we are like, who are you to tell me what to do? I think that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is all like pay attention to the kind of hierarchy, isn't it? It's know your place.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, if the universe knows that you or we, because I would be with you on this, I don't like it either, this card. If the universe knows how we react to this card, I trust the universe to only send it, do you know what I mean? When it is appropriate. I don't feel the universe is going to challenge me on it. It will send it when it kind of knows that my reaction will be appropriate.
I have to agree because it knows who it's talking to.
Yeah.
And it knows that you're not on friendly terms with this cards. It's not going to send you this card to interpret any other way outside of that fishbowl. I mean, you do have some free reign there, but I would never look at it and say, "Oh, gee, I ought to join the Catholic Church."
Yeah.
Now, wasn't this card originally called the Pope, and then it was renamed when somewhere down the line, and then Waite put his little W up there on the the top of the headpiece that this person's wearing. And I know Hierophant is like a teacher or a guide, uh, but by putting that W up there and knowing what this card used to be, I always get a little bit of a feeling of
Oh,
self-importance.
yeah. And yes, he used to be the Pope, and the High Priestess used to be the Papist.
Yeah, that's what I
Right.
thought.
Do you see, I'll throw this out to anybody, a real difference between him and the Emperor?
Personally, I think the Emperor is more self-made. He went out and he got that. And
Right.
the Hierophant is more scholar and pomp and circumstance. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah,
He
and I
sort
would
of,
agree with that.
and he sort of belongs to the establishment in a way.
Right, right. And he doesn't, I mean, he does have true authority, but the truest authority is over him, whereas the
Yes.
emperor is his authority.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor's like king of his own castle, whereas the Hierophant is answerable to someone else above. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get something with this, the triangle here. He has people at his feet. The emperor doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
the emperor doesn't need the validation of people at his feet. And here I see the Hierophant has these people, and it triggers some same feelings in me like I will get when we get to a card on down later on the line, the devil. So for me,
Yeah.
there's some association there.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And I remember one of the lessons where Dusty points out the cards with the trines, and there are several of them, and that Waite had a fascination with that authority figure over the two insignificant figures or smaller figures.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as often as I've fought with him, I have actually, with the way he's got his little hand up,
Mm-hmm.
I have actually seen this card as sometimes a card of forgiveness. Very
Mm-hmm.
rarely. Very rarely.
It was
No, I
poor.
would agree with that.
But it has happened. Yeah, yeah. Usually we buck heads. Like, oh, you again.
It's quite nice when he comes up reversed, I think.
Really?
Well, I find when he comes up reversed, it's suggesting to me that somebody can still be an individual despite being in a very kind of regimented environment or whatever. That their individuality will somehow still survive and be apparent. It will be accepted.
Nice. I like
I
that.
do too. And with with him I still get a lot of traditional. I mean, he pops up
Yeah.
my head, goes traditional. So if I see him as conformist upright, I like what you said better than nonconformist in reverse, cuz nonconformist just sounds like they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I like what
Yeah.
you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with him when he comes up reversed. I've got to be honest.
I'm just never
It,
comfortable with him.
it, it allows me to see better things. It's like despite all the kind of traditionalism and all the rules and the regulations and everything, you can still be recognised within that who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Anything else on him?
No, I'm done with him
Can
today.
we
No.
can we politely ask him to leave?
Should we? Okay, we can be polite.
Yeah, we have to back out of the room. We
On.
can't show our back to him. We have to,
A
head down.
bow.
Get thee gone. Go on now, go. Get out the door. Don't turn around now.
I don't know. Now I have the words kowtowing in my head.
I have the words to "I Will Survive" in mine. I think Mandy was singing "I Will Survive" to us.
Oh my gosh.
You were, weren't you,
I
Mandy?
was, yeah, I was.
So fun.
Because you're not welcome here no more.
So it's goodbye to the Hierophant from
Yay!
the house quiet. Yeah, the door has now been closed.